Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Smack Talk Live. I'm Coach along with Lone Wolf. And let's just get right into it, Lone Wolf. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. We need to review next, or sum up last week, preview this week, talk about the trade deadline. So there is a ton to go over, and I think we need to get right into it with last week. A lot of surprising games last week.
Yes.
Good thing we don't bet money on our predictions because we probably would have went broke last week.
Not completely, but yes, there are a few games there that didn't bode so well.
Yeah, we did not do the greatest in our picks last week, but you're gonna have weeks like that every now and then. So, it is what it is. So, not gonna spend a ton of time on these games. We'll run through. If there's a game you really want to comment on, let me know. Obviously, last Thursday, Atlanta beat Carolina, which was kind of a shock. Buffalo beat New England, not a shock there.
No.
Cincinnati beats Tennessee. Huge upset. Horrible loss for the Titans. Not really sure what else to say about that game.
I think just defensively, and maybe we'll get into that when we preview, but to me, you and I were texting, before talking about these games as they were going on, and what was the worst loss of that Sunday? Well, this is one of those two.
Yeah.
This is one of the worst losses of that slew of games. So yeah, bad loss.
The Raiders beat Cleveland. We both said it in text messages. The Browns are the Browns.
Right. This is why, when I went off on Baker Mayfield last week or the week before, it wasn't really entirely his fault. I mean, the weather was horrible in Cleveland, but this is Cleveland. They're just not as good as people thought they were when they started out 4-1. So
right. Indy demolishes Detroit. No shock there. No, the other horrible loss here. Minnesota beats Green Bay. We'll get into more about it when we talk about the game, the Packers playing
game right now. Yeah.
Just a bad defensive performance by Green Bay.
Yeah. Atrocious.
KC plasters the Jets. I think they got up by so much that they just basically put in their practice squad in the second half. That's why it was only 35-9.
I think they could have put their water people in, and it probably still would have been 35-9.
Yeah, it's bad.
So,
the Jets are bad.
Yeah.
The Jets, period. I'm sure we'll talk about the Jets.
So we'll talk about them. Yeah.
We're not even in New York. We're not New York fans, but we talk about the Jets all the time.
All the time.
The Dolphins beat the Rams. Not surprised, but I think it's a little bit of an upset.
I would say so. I will say this, though. It doesn't change what I said before, because to me, Tua really didn't do anything in this game to change the fate of the game. The Dolphins played lights out on defense and special teams and capitalized on mistakes, and that's why they won the game.
Right. I agree. Pittsburgh over Baltimore, not a huge surprise. It was a competitive game. Kind of figured it. I believe I don't remember.
We both picked the Steelers, I think we both picked the Steelers to win. I know you did. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I did.
I don't remember.
I think,
but
yeah, you did.
But
I know you did.
Close game there. So I expect any time right now when those two teams play it to be close. Denver comes back last minute and beats the Chargers. To be honest, I didn't know this until like midweek. I just thought the Chargers won when I stopped paying attention to it.
Oh yeah.
And then I was looking at stuff for this week's show, and I was like, "What?" And so I had to read about what happened. So, but this impacts our hot seat, I think, right here. That we talked about a little bit um, last week, and we'll talk about more this week.
Yeah, we'll talk about the hot seat again. Yeah.
New Orleans beats Chicago in overtime. Two quick things about this game. It tells me that the Saints aren't as good as we thought, and the Bears aren't as bad as we thought.
I think that's probably fair to a certain point. The Saints have been having a lot of problems with their defense all year long. So I agree on the first point, yes. And yeah, the Bears probably aren't as bad as maybe as we've been kind of giving them a hard time about, but they're not at the level of that they're not at that next level.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
not in that elite group of playoff teams. They're maybe on the outside or the edge and maybe getting in the postseason or maybe not kind of
Right.
thing.
I agree with that. Seattle beat San Francisco, and I don't think it's really the loss we have to talk about here. It is all the injuries that the 49ers sustained, and we'll talk about that, I think, more when we talk about tonight's game
Tonight's
or
game, yeah.
a little bit. Philadelphia beats Dallas. Not shocking. Somebody had to win this game.
That was the ugliest football game on Sunday, hands down. It
I,
was it
I
was disgusting.
yeah, that the football in that division is bad, really bad, and I'll have to reference something I heard on Fox Sports Radio coming home tonight. It's I was like, wow, that's bad, but we'll talk about that when we preview things towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
Um, and then we have
The Bucks
uh,
and the Giants.
Tampa Bay barely beating the Giants. Um, I don't really know what to make of this game. People are telling look at it, how well Tampa Bay came back and won. But lone wolf, they
Yeah.
should have never been in that position.
I agree. I mean, I usually watch the Packer game, and then I usually watch the snippets of other games, just to kind of see what's going on around the league. I don't usually watch full games, but I watched a little bit of this game, and the end of it, where the Giants drove down and scored, and then failed at the 2 point conversion, depending on your on who you believe and whether the refs got it right or wrong on that play. But twice on fourth down, twice on a hopeless fourth down. One was like 4th and 16. The Giants converted.
Right.
So I mean, this is a Giants team without Saquon Barkley, and they're marching down the field against you. That ain't good.
Well,
So
here's the thing, and I know Tampa Bay blasted Green Bay earlier in the year. Okay, fine, it is what it is. I heard tonight on the from um, some other shows that they feel that Tampa Bay is the best team in the NFC.
oh yeah, I heard people going on and on about that. I've seen
I,
it written in 10 different columns.
I'm telling you right now, I don't think they are. I don't think Green Bay is. I still think Seattle's the best team in the division or in the
Yeah,
conference.
in the conference. Yeah,
Their defense might be suspect, but their offense is unstoppable.
I got to tell you, Coach, that DK Metcalf. Did I hit a home
Yeah.
run with that guy, or did I hit a home run with that guy? I said he was going to be a stud. I didn't think he'd be this much of a stud. He's just like
Right.
unstoppable.
And it doesn't matter who they seem to put in running back, they're productive enough.
Right.
And then you still have Tyler Lockett. You have Greg Olson, just the savvy vet that just keeps going. That offense is scary. Russell Wilson is playing at a totally different level. So
Yeah.
when I hear people say that Tampa Bay is going to go into the Super Bowl, I just have to roll my eyes right now. Because I'll tell you
Well,
what,
and
the
remember
NFC,
though, Coach, people were saying that as soon as Tom Brady walked into Tampa. I
right.
mean, they were like, "Oh my God, the Super Bowl team!" Blah blah blah.
Well, now they brought in Antonio Brown. which is
Yeah.
fine. I think in the long run that's going to hurt them because
I
if
agree.
Brown doesn't get 10 to 12 targets a game, he's going to throw a hissy fit.
Hmm.
And that's why teams didn't pick him up. It's not that he can't play the game anymore. They didn't want to deal with his locker room problem.
Right. And
So
I don't know that he will get that many
he
targets
won't.
in that offense.
I heard today that some people are saying that they're gonna give him 4 to 5 catches this week just to make him happy. What? You did
Why?
that? Yeah, they're gonna throw him like short little screen pass type passes just so he can get some catches to be make him happy.
Wow.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. What?
I just
Why are
don't
you
get it.
doing that?
But anyways, the thing is, I think the NFC South. I thought, I think we both thought it would be a lot stronger than it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Carolina's still showing those growing pains. Atlanta isn't any good, and
New Orleans is
New
average.
Orleans is. Yeah. Yeah. They're right. Yep.
I think we both thought New Orleans would be throttling people offensively.
Right.
Um, I think you take the third place team in the NFC West, which right now is San Francisco, you put them in the NFC South, and they're at least second place, maybe even leading that division.
Well, San Francisco's in last place. The Rams are now in third
Oh,
place. So you
so
could
I'm
take the fourth place team and put
all
them in
right.
there.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. Anything can happen, but um, you know, I don't think Tampa Bay is the best team in the NFC. I
No, I
really
agree.
don't.
Yep. Yep.
So getting into this week before we get into the trade deadline. Tonight's game, normally we skip over the Packers, but they're a Thursday night game. We give live updates
Right.
during the game, during the show. So right now it's in the third quarter. Green Bay's up 21-3, and
They
they
have the
got the ball.
football.
They have the
Yep.
football. I don't know if you're watching it, but
It's on right now. Yeah. I mean, we've got the game on
the
here. Yep.
the website says it's on the 0 yard line.
It's on the 20.
Okay.
The 49ers
Oh,
had a fourth down, they
punted back.
punted it, and
Okay.
now they have it on the 20.
All right.
Yeah.
I was like, it doesn't make any sense. If I'm
No,
zero
I
yard
know.
line,
It
that
doesn't
means it's
sense.
a
Yeah.
safety. I was like,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
okay. But so not saying that the game is over. Obviously, in the NFL, an 18-point lead isn't the end of the world early in the third quarter.
Right.
But just watching the beginning of the game, um, you know, Rodgers, some big pass plays. And I'm not going to talk about Packer personnel. We'll talk about that when we talk about the trade deadline. But Devontae Adams is a game changer. Having Jones in the backfield is a game changer. You saw last week against Minnesota, the Minnesota knew that without Aaron Jones, the Packers offense had to go through the passing game
Right.
because the rush game was not the same. And
Yeah.
then with how windy it was in that game, it affected the passing game. Um, so not making excuses. Vikings beat the Packers.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about
We'll get into the
personnel
personnel piece of it in a
later,
little while. Yeah. I mean, I
but
think what you're seeing in this particular game is, the 49ers, I'll say this, they have a very talented roster. It's very clear to me, and they're well coached because this team is so absolutely depleted in comparison to
yeah,
any other team that's the reason really I think they're losing this game. The Packers are good, don't get me wrong, but they have so many people, so many key contributors are out
well, I
that they just
yeah. The
yeah.
49ers do not have an offensive player playing tonight that handled the ball in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there you go, right there. That's about all that you need to say. Yep.
Now, I will say one thing about this game, and it's not
Hmm.
true to any to other team. Troy Aikman needs to be fired from broadcasting and never broadcast again.
Oh my gosh,
He's an
yes, he
absolute
does.
idiot. Um,
I think you're gonna
but,
get anybody that comes into this channel or listens to this is gonna agree with you.
but two things that they commentated on, and Joe Buck too. He's bad too.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Okay, so first thing is, I believe it was Joe Buck made this comment that Shanahan relishes the situation they're in because of the challenge of developing a game plan without having all these players. How freaking stupid is that?
Oh,
Yeah, I relish the fact that all of my offensive weapons are hurt.
yeah. No coach says
No
that.
coach is excited about the idea of losing everybody.
Oh, oh my
Come
God, that's so dumb.
on. How stupid can you be?
No, what they did talk about was that Shanahan had a whole bunch of plays drawn up for a couple guys, Brandon Ayuk and some others that were going to play, and he had to rip up the game plan in the
Yeah,
middle of the week, and he had to start all over from scratch because all
yeah,
those guys were going to be out. You
right,
think a coach relishes that? Coach, as a coach, in the middle of the week, you have to make a ton of adjustments. You're up all night, you're studying film, you're getting things down. Yeah, it's every coach's dream to do that.
right, exactly. So, so then the
Oh yeah,
the other kind, this was Troy Aikman's
brainchild
comment.
comment. Yeah,
He said that Salas is doing a better job coaching the 49er defense this year than he did last year.
oh
And I'm like, I get it. It's more challenging this year. And so it's a little more impressive this year because he's
right.
able to sustain a high level of defensive play with all the injuries he sustained. But that doesn't say he's doing a better job. What that tells me, the dude's legit. The dude's
Right.
a
He's
legit
just a good
coach,
coach.
and
Right.
he's going to be a head coach someday. It,
Right.
that's what
Which
this
is what
tells
you
me.
were calling for last year. I mean, this
Right,
is your dude. So yeah.
right. I'm not saying he's doing a better job this year.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what are you
How do
talking
you judge?
about?
How is he judging? Yeah, Troy Aikman says stuff like that all the time. All the time.
I
I
mean,
just I get so tired of it.
I
Yeah.
really wish. Here's what I wish they would do a lobotomy on Troy Aikman and test him for CTE. Because if there's one player in the NFL that probably
Yeah.
has CTE, it's Troy Aikman.
Yeah, he got beat up a lot, especially late in his career. He took a lot
I
of
mean,
hits and he got a lot of head
holy
injuries, I
smokes.
think.
So,
Yeah.
but again, that's off field stuff. Green Bay, they're just rolling. It's second and goal from San Francisco 9, 21-3, halfway through the
Yeah.
third quarter. If they score here, the game's done. Um,
If they
so
score a touchdown, I think, yeah,
it's
definitely.
kind of a game that
Yeah.
the Green Bay needed after um,
After the bad
crap in
taste
the
in your
bed
mouth Vikings
against the
lost. Yeah.
Vikings.
Yeah.
Um, so sorry, San Francisco, you lose this game. You still may make the playoffs because real quick, the NFL came out this week and
Yeah.
said they are looking at a 16 team playoff if games are lost due to COVID.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't like that. I mean, I understand what
here's
they're
why.
saying and I get it, but I just don't like it. You don't want to be diluting the playoffs by adding that many more teams to it. I don't like the way that looks.
I mean, because here, just real quick, let's just look at the Saints. We got to get to our preview, but
Right.
I want to look at this real quick. So if you look at we'll just take we'll look at the NFC real quick here. Okay, so If
Right.
you look at the top six teams right now, you have Seattle, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, New Orleans, Arizona, and the Rams in the playoffs right now.
Yep.
Okay. I'm assuming if they do 16 teams, that's eight teams in each
Right. That'd be
conference.
8 teams. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Oh wait, hold on. Never mind. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I gotta go to the playoffs.
Oh, well,
Uh,
and the Eagles would be in because
yeah, yep.
they're leading in their
That, that
division. Yeah.
that's what I was wrong here. So you'll be looking at Seattle, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Arizona are in right now.
Right.
Okay. Your next two teams would be the Rams and the Bears. Okay, so not
Yeah.
horrible. Not
No,
horrible
not
here.
horrible. Nope.
Okay. Now you go to the AFC, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Buffalo, Tennessee, Baltimore, Indianapolis would are in right now. You
Right.
get Cleveland and the Raiders as the next two teams. Um, you're you look at those next two teams in even in the NFC. I
Yeah.
like the Rams, and I wouldn't be as bad with, but you're looking at the Bears, who I don't think you put
Right
them
now, I don't
against.
think they deserve to be in the playoffs.
Right. You'd be playing them against Seattle right now.
Right.
That's not even a game.
Well, no, no, it's not. And let's be honest, I feel the same way about Cleveland. You know, in the AFC.
Right.
I mean, I know they have a winning record, but two of your wins are against Cincinnati. I just,
You'd be
uh,
right now you'd be sending the Raiders to the Steelers.
yeah, yeah. The
That
Raiders have been a little up and down. I'm not quite there yet either. I
right.
mean, I think you'll have to let this play out, but I just, I don't like having half your teams in. Then what's the point of having a playoff?
Right. Right,
It's
exactly.
almost not even special anymore if you
You,
have
you,
half your
you
team
might as
in.
you might as well just look at how many games a all-in playoff would be and cut those games off the regular season, seed everybody, and just let everybody technically be in the playoffs. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So if you do it by conference right now, 1 versus 16. So Seattle versus New York, Tampa Bay versus Atlanta, Green
right.
Bay versus Dallas, and just do it that way if you're gonna do that.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. It's the college basketball
Right.
version of the NFL.
Exactly. Um, I just if I'm a GM and an owner, I don't want that.
No,
I just don't want that.
the point of playoff football is to have good
Right.
games, solid teams, where you can have a chance at a team getting in the postseason that might hit a hot streak and do well, and you're going to have those 9-7 teams like the Giants, where they win the Super Bowl or whatever. But for the most part, you're getting the best teams in the postseason,
Well,
and
here,
if you
here,
keep
here-
doing that, you're diluting it.
here's the thing with that format, though. There are no buys. So
Right?
what would be the purpose of continuing to play hard to get the
Yeah. Why
one,
get the
the
number
one
one
seed?
seed? Who cares? You don't get a
Right.
bye.
Who
Yeah. Yeah.
cares? You
Right.
know? So I really think they need to really look at that a little bit harder before they decide to do that. So, anyways, um, we are now. Did Green Bay get a turnover? Oh, there we go.
No, they scored a touchdown. I don't know if they got a turnover, but
No, it just didn't update. So right now, Green Bay up 28-3, 7 minutes left in the third. I think we both agree Green Bay's going to win this game. So moving on real quick again, unless it's an intriguing matchup, with everything we're going to talk about yet, um, we'll make these predictions quick and
right. Yeah.
concise.
Yep.
Um, we tend to ramble quite a
We
bit.
do a little bit. Yeah. Hey, it's hard.
So,
Sometimes you really delve in, and we got a lot to go through. So yeah, we'll make our points here.
all right. So first Sunday matchup, Denver at Atlanta. Ooh. Actually, I mean, it's not a really intriguing matchup, but it's a tough one to call.
It is an
Denver.
intriguing matchup from the standpoint of two teams that, yeah, it is a tough one to call.
I'm gonna go with Denver here. I think they're playing well. Getting Drew Lock back, and finally healthy. I think they're starting to improve and starting to understand the offense defensive system in there now. I think Atlanta still really doesn't know their head from their rear end yet. Um, so I'm gonna go with Denver over Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. I think Denver's in a better place. Atlanta's just kind of floating until the end of the season. Players playing to prove themselves. So Denver's trending up, and they're going to win this game.
Seattle at Buffalo, big matchup for both teams, especially for Buffalo. Miami's playing really good football right now. If they don't watch
Right.
out, Miami could jump up and take the division from them. But Seattle is playing lights out. I think their offense is too much for Buffalo. I think it's going to be a close game because I don't think Seattle's defense can is going to totally stifle Buffalo's offense. I'm going to pick Seattle over Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Seattle too because I haven't seen a lot of offensive explosion from Buffalo for a few weeks now. They really haven't poured it on. They outslugged a couple of teams. I mean, they beat the Jets, which everybody beats the Jets, and they beat the Patriots, um, which was a good win for them. But there's something about their defense this year that just doesn't quite match up to what it was last year. And Seattle's offense is just off the chain, so they're gonna roll in. I think they'll win by maybe 7 or 10. I don't know. I think it'll be a little bit higher than we think.
All right, Chicago at Tennessee. I'm going to go Tennessee here. I think after being shocked last week, they come out and exact revenge on the Bears, who have finally come down to earth. That their roster is not offensively very good. Um, so I'm gonna pick Tennessee over the Bears comfortably.
Now, if I read this wrong, people have to say, they'll have to correct me, which is fine. But I believe I read this correct in NFL.com article that during the Bears game that somebody had made a comment where one of the announcers had made a comment where this is the point in these games where the Bears um, miss Mitch Trubisky because Nick Foles is just playing atrociously.
Jeez.
And I know somebody said it. I just don't know who it was. But I know that it was posted in this NFL.com article. Okay, no, they don't miss Mitch Trubisky, but their offense isn't very good. Tennessee got some help in the secondary, and yes, this is a bounce back game. Um, Tennessee will win this handily.
All right, Baltimore at Indianapolis. I like Indianapolis, but they cannot match up with Baltimore. I'm going to take Baltimore over Indianapolis.
Yeah, and I think Baltimore needs this as kind of a bounce back game for them too. They just haven't been able to hang with the elite of the AFC. Indianapolis, I don't think, is the elite of the AFC. They carved up Detroit, but that's not the same as Baltimore. Baltimore bounces back in this one, and it'll be a fairly decent game, but Baltimore wins.
All right, Carolina at Kansas City. No, I don't have anything to say. Kansas City.
Me too, KC.
Detroit at Minnesota. I'm going Vikings because Detroit will be out without Matt Stafford this week. He was put on the COVID list, um, I believe today. So I'm going Minnesota.
If Stafford plays, I would choose the Lions in this game.
Exactly.
If he doesn't play, then there's no chance, and the Vikings win this game.
New York at Washington. Holy smokes.
This is
Um,
actually this is an intriguing
it
matchup
is
again. I mean, two
it
bad
is
teams, but it's an intriguing matchup.
it's an intriguing game, even though they both stink. I'm you know what? I'm gonna go with Washington because I think Kyle Allen has kind of he he's not a great quarterback, but he's a stabilizing quarterback. So what I mean by that is he calms everybody down. He's not frantic in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So the every no, it's not like this nervous energy back there. And he kind of reminds me of when, and yes, this is going to kind of be a little, you know,
Throwback
go
here,
back, but it's like when the Panthers had Chris Winkie.
or ooh, okay, yeah, yeah. There
And
you go.
it,
Nice.
Winkie was not a great quarterback, but
No,
when he had to play, they did fairly well with him because he just played the position. He didn't go out of his way to try to win the game for them. He gave took what the defense gave him. He gave the ball to the playmakers, which Washington doesn't have many, but when you're playing the Giants, you don't need to have many.
no, and they've got Terry McLaurin. He's a pretty decent wide receiver.
So, and I like Ron Rivera. I'm not saying the Giants are bad and well, record-wise are bad, that they aren't getting better. But when you put all that energy last week into playing Tampa Bay and to come up short like that, it takes a little bit when you're not a good team to come to get that energy level back. So I'm gonna for those reasons I'm taking the Washington football team
Yeah. You
over the
know,
Giants.
I mean, just because I agree that I think that it was a letdown against the Buccaneers, but it, no, I was going to pick the Giants. I was. But then I remembered those two horrible interceptions that Daniel Jones threw, and I just think to myself, he hasn't gotten over that yet. And Jason Garrett and whoever the quarterbacks coaches in New York hasn't coached that out of him. Um, hmm. I want to pick New York, but I just feel like Daniel Jones and or New York in general is going to give the ball up too many times to win this football game. And I want to pick New York, but I'm going to pick the Washington football team as well.
All right. Moving on, Houston at Jacksonville. Not much to say here. I'm taking Houston. Jacksonville starting a 6th-round draft pick at quarterback. Don't even remember his name.
I couldn't even tell you, and we we have a few of those situations in the NFL, but this to me this is a Houston game where I think they're going to blow the Jaguars out.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think Jacksonville's hoping somehow the Jets can win 2 games so Jacksonville can get Trevor Lawrence.
keep hoping because it ain't gonna happen.
Well, I know that. We'll get to that in a little bit,
We'll get to
but
that
I think
later.
that's what Jacksonville's hoping.
Oh my
So,
god.
so
All right.
Las Vegas
Las
at the
Vegas and Los Angeles.
Chargers.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, you know, the Chargers are playing really well offensively. Las Vegas has been kind of Jekyll and Hyde this year. Man, I really want to pick Las Vegas, but I just think offensively the Chargers are too good for the Raiders defense, and I think I'm gonna pick the Chargers.
Okay.
They've been in so many games, and yes, they've lost some really close games. I just think eventually they're going to get one. And yes, I'm going against my team, but you can't always pick your team.
No,
You
you
got to
can't.
think of this stuff objectively. I'm going with the Chargers in this game.
All right. I think that the problem I have is the Chargers find ways to lose games at the end of games, which they've been doing too much in the Lynn era, and that to me is a problem. I think offensively they've been playing good. I like the fact that Herbert's been working out. We're critical of teams that take quarterbacks, but Herbert to me has been the guy so far out of this season, out of all the people that have been taken as a top quarterback who's worked out the best. I think the Raiders win this game because the Chargers will find a way at the end of the game to give it away again. So I know what you're saying, and I understand the Raiders have been like that, but I just think Los Angeles is going to give it up.
All righty. Pittsburgh at Dallas. I guess we have to pick somebody here. Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Is there a question on that?
No, I don't even know who Dallas will start at quarterback.
It was
So
Ben DiNucci before.
it's
I
not.
think.
I don't believe. I don't believe he's starting this week.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's yeah. It doesn't really matter who they start. The Steelers are going to win this game by like 40, so it
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
it's not even gonna be a game. Um, Miami at Arizona. Very, very intriguing game here. A big game for both teams. Both are playing really well.
Yeah.
Now, the only concern I have here, and this is why I'm going to pick the way I'm picking, I'm going to pick the Cardinals because you mentioned it when we were recapping last week.
Yep.
Tua didn't do much to win that game. It was defense and special teams. You don't have that kind of defensive and special teams performance back-to-back weeks. Tua's gonna have to do something to help Miami win.
Right. And I
Now,
agree with that.
I'm concerned. I'm gonna go with
yeah.
Arizona here, but it would
Right.
not surprise me because Miami's defense is playing well if Miami finds a way to win the game.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be a tight one. There's no question. And it may come down to Tua, and then he's going to have to prove it. I like the way that the Cardinals are riding high after coming back against Seattle and beating them. That to me was a signature win. Yeah, I know Seattle's defense wasn't the best, but you have a team where you were down and you put it into overtime and then you beat that team and you had to come back and I thought, oh, there's no way they can win this game, and they came back and they did. So the Cardinals are looking good. I think, yeah, it's just going to be a little too much. I put it to here. The Cardinals will win this game, but it's going to be a tight one.
All right. New Orleans at Tampa Bay.
The rematch.
This is another huge game for both teams. I read something. I'm just double checking here about Drew Brees this week. Come on, computer. He was held out of practice today for the second straight day. Trying to find all the details here. Because of his shoulder.
It says it's a right shoulder injury.
If Drew Brees can't play, this game is over before it's played.
Why you don't think that Jameis Winston can step in against his old team and
absolutely
and
not. He might actually complete a pass to a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Well, I think there's a guarantee of that.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he throws the most interceptions ever. But I think even if Drew Brees plays this game, I think Tampa's going to come back and win this game. Brees is banged up. Kamara's has a mid-foot sprain, and yes, if he plays, um, he's going to be limited. He's going to be slowed down. Um, you know, I just I don't know if they have enough. Michael Thomas may or may not play.
Right.
Um, so I just New Orleans right now, I think they're in the mode of we need to get healthy and make a playoff run to get into a run to get into the playoffs, and then hopefully we can peak there. I think right now it's Tampa Bay's division to lose, um, which they could because you barely beat the Giants. It's just I don't think I just don't think it's a good sign for Tampa Bay. You go out and you throttle a team like Green Bay,
Right.
but then you
Maybe
barely
that's a
beat.
letdown game. They have a letdown against the Giants,
Right.
but they
And,
still
and
come
if
away with
you
a win. That's
if you're a Super Bowl contender, you may have a letdown game, but you don't almost lose on the to a team like that. It may be
no,
a
right.
close game, but you still easily win,
Yeah.
comfortably win. That just doesn't happen that way if
Yeah, it
you're
was
a
not
serious
comfortable. That's for
Super Bowl
sure.
contender. So I am gonna pick Tampa Bay in this game. I just think New Orleans has too many health issues. I think they're almost in the same boat as the 49ers when it comes to their health.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And I will say that defensively, they've had problems in the secondary. I don't think that's going to bode well for the combination of receivers that Tampa is going to put out there. This is going to be a different meeting than the first meeting, and I think Tampa is going to come away with the victory.
All right. And then finally, well, this isn't the New England of old, so it might not actually be that bad of a game. New England and the Jets. I
But
have to do it. I'm picking the Patriots. I have predicted the Jets will go 0-16, so I gotta pick against them every
you have to
week.
pick against them every week, coach. I think this is an easy pick. The Jets are so abysmal that most rating systems have them as if we have to pick them as 32 just because there's 32 teams will put them there. The Patriots did not look good. They're not the Patriots of old, but if you're going to play somebody and you have a win mentality, or the best medicine for you right now is to play the Jets. So they're going to win.
All right. And that is our week 9 preview. So we will see. Quick update, end of the third. Green Bay up 31-3. But
Yep.
San Francisco has second and 10 from the Green Bay 14. So um
That's a pretty big deficit to overcome in one
yeah,
quarter.
yeah, especially with what they have offensively. Um so moving on to the NFL trade deadline. Um Not a ton of major moves like we thought there would be. I thought there'd be a lot more. Um, I thought we would see multiple receivers moving. I thought we'd see some defensive players move. A
Yep.
lot of minor trades. You have Emerson Griffin being traded to the Lions,
Right.
which I don't know if you're Detroit, why make that move? I don't understand that one.
I don't
Um,
either.
you're not really a playoff team. You probably gave up a decent draft pick for them. I just if you just sat and waited, I'm sure Dallas probably would have released him.
Yeah, and
Um,
and and it. I agree with you. It makes no sense, and you're probably gonna figure Matt Patricia's around now. He'll probably survive until the end of the season, but after that, he's going to be gone because it just has been a bad tenure so far. And then what do you do there? It's like you brought in this guy to help you win now, but you're really not going to do a lot of that. So
well, right, and and I could see if they were serious playoff contenders. Um, but they're not. I mean, it's good that
No, they're not.
that they're more competitive, but
Right.
that it just doesn't make any sense to me. Um, just quick going through, you had the Dolphins get DeAndre Washington from the Chiefs. You had the Patriots get Isaiah Ford from the Dolphins.
Right.
Um,
Quan Alexander did move. That's probably the. Would you say that's the biggest trade? I mean, I think that was probably the biggest trade, which is not really saying much because I mean, not that Quan Alexander is horrible, but
no,
there are a lot of big names.
I think the biggest one is Avery Williamson from the Jets to the Steelers.
No,
Um,
just for himself to get the heck out of Dodge.
right. But I mean, Williamson is a decent
Yeah,
linebacker
he
that
is. Yeah,
in the offseason it was rumored that like a team like Green Bay or a team that need a linebacker would be looking at acquiring somebody like that.
yeah,
Um, and nothing happened. But yeah, a lot of the rumors out
did
there
not occur.
did
Yeah,
not come to fruition. John Ross um, from the Bengals, I mean, basically said he wanted to be traded.
right. That didn't
Uh,
happen. Yeah,
it didn't happen. So, it's just one of those things where, um, you know, I like the aggressiveness of this is one of the reasons I like Bill Belichick so much. He's not afraid to go make a deal for a receiver if he thinks it's going to better his team. Same with
right.
Schneider from Seattle. You go, you make deals to try to win a Super Bowl. And this
And
leads
and
me
they had a
to
terrible pass rush, and they needed somebody. They got Carlos Dunlap.
right. And this brings me to the Green Bay Packers front office. For years, the the Packer fan base has sat here and watched year after year after year since Ron Wolf left of the front office being afraid to make a move either in free agency or via trade to get this team over the hump and win a Super Bowl. Yes. Oh, but coach, they won the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. They should have been to at least 3 or 4 Super Bowls with Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
Right.
But they're too chicken crap to make a move.
And
They
and
were-
and I'll say this too, Coach. Not to interrupt you, but that was 10 years ago now.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl 10 years ago. Um, you know, I understand that Will Fuller, the Texans might have wanted a little bit higher price, but I texted you this, Lone
Yeah.
Wolf. I think the front office of the Packers have no idea of the mindset of the Packer fan base.
Right.
And this comes from not being really in tune with the organization and the city. The Green Bay Packer fan base, they understand that when Aaron Rodgers is done, or they either release him, he trade him, or he retires,
Right.
that there's going to be a period of transition, that it's probably not going to be like Favre to Rodgers. Green Bay fans are smart fans. They understand this stuff. We lived
They
through
do.
the 70s and 80s.
Right. And they're more patient fans than a lot of
Correct.
other fans.
Correct. So they understand that there's going to be a down period of a
Right.
kind of a retooling, rebuilding period. So if you go and trade some third, fourth, maybe even a second round draft pick, you
Right.
know, next year or the year after to get a guy now to win the Super Bowl, and then you have that downtime, Packer fans aren't going to be upset about that.
No, they're not.
They're more upset you were too chicken to make a move. Now, there are some people in that reports saying the people that it was split in the management that some wanted to, but then others that said, "Oh, Aaron has enough tools. Look what he's doing." Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't care if that he caught a pass at the end of the half to catch a touchdown, but Scanlon, if you had
Yeah.
dropped that touchdown pass, you should have been cut on the scene. It was
Marquez Valdez-Scantling has dropped so many passes this year that Aaron Rodgers puts on the money. Okay,
he
there are passes he misses, but he's been putting him in his hands. Easy catches.
lo and
Easy
behold,
catches.
I watched the game up to getting ready for the show. There was a 3rd and 4.
Yes.
Someone was wide open. Rogers
Yep.
put on the money. The guy catches it. It's a first down. It hit him right in the hands, and he
Yep. He just
dropped it.
totally botched it.
Aaron Rodgers was so disgusted he couldn't even look at the guy.
I don't understand
But
why
yet,
the
the
Packers
Packers front
organization.
office thinks that he has enough weapons. How idiotic are you? They should fire everybody in that front office. I don't care if the Packers are winning. Fire everybody in the Packers front office. Get people with some balls in there to make the moves to win Super Bowls. Packer
Right.
fans don't care about making the playoffs. That can happen this day and age in the NFL. They want Super Bowls.
Right. And I think what you see is a lot of patience from the fans because it has been 10 years since they've done this and they have a window with Aaron Rodgers and it's getting shorter and shorter to your exact point, and right now you have to capitalize on it. Why do they think they have the most weapons? I'm not a knee-jerk kind of person. I'm not saying Marquez Valdez-Scantling has to go because he dropped a couple passes in this game, because he has a history of not making these plays. It goes back to last year. It's the same thing. He's supposed to be a home run hitter, but he just drops balls. He drops balls constantly. He's done it this year. He's done it last year. The guy isn't that good of a receiver, and yet they don't draft one, and then they don't go out and get one. Now, I mean, this is minor devil advocate here. Houston, if you want to fire everybody in Green Bay, coach, I'll fire everybody in Houston
Oh
as
yeah.
well, because and they fired Bill O'Brien, who made the stupid DeAndre Hopkins trade in the first place, and then the Texans, whoever's left there, is sitting here going, "Oh man, we can't get rid of Will Fuller too. We're in complete rebuild mode after we got rid of Bill O'Brien, but now we need to overvalue the receivers
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
have."
exactly.
No, you need to get rid of somebody so you get draft picks, because last season you didn't have any draft picks. And now you need them. Oh, but we really don't. We need to keep Will Fuller, who is probably wanting to get out of town now.
Right, exactly.
So I,
But
I, I just I had to throw that in there because I mean, that part of it was just stupid. I mean, Houston, come on.
well, and on top of that though, even if the Will Fuller trade couldn't happen,
Yeah.
Ross from Cincinnati openly wanted to be out. You can't tell
Yes.
me he wouldn't have been able to get AJ Green. Alshon Jeffries, I'm sure, is available from Philadelphia. There are
Absolutely.
very good wide receivers that could complement Devontae Adams that were out there, and
Right.
you didn't even go get one.
Right.
You think that the current roster, is good enough to win a Super Bowl, which is crap. Okay. I was having a discussion with some of my students who are very, very big Packer fans. And we were talking about, the lack of moves at the trade deadline. We were talking about the Vikings game. And they said, well, our linebackers aren't really that bad. It's our D tackles. I said, hold on. Stop right there. I'm going to give you a word of advice. It's easier to be a fan when you can admit when something is wrong with your team.
Yeah.
It'll be better for you as a fan to admit the Packers linebackers suck. They suck. They suck. They suck. They are
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
Do not put the Vikings game on the defensive line. Our linebackers are so chicken they won't step up in the hole and take on a running back.
It's tackling. I mean, this isn't
It
just
is
tackling; it's
absolutely
constant bad
brutal.
tackling all over.
Tonight, I saw one of the Packers linebackers. The guy motioned. He stood there in the middle of the field. Whoa, guess what? They ran an outside run the way the guy motioned. And what happens? We're late. We get sealed by the guy that motions. They get a 10
Yep,
yard gain.
yep,
I'm sorry. I know I'm only a high school coach, but I think I'm a very good one. You bump out when somebody motions your way. So you're there. So you can help make the play and not be afraid of making the play.
yeah,
I just don't get it.
yeah. And that's the other thing too. I mean, we've been spending a lot of time about the Packers not going out and getting a receiver. Um, but they didn't make any moves on the defensive side.
Right.
And I get it. I know they have some younger guys that they are hopeful that are going to play better at linebacker as the season wears on. And you've seen some of that with Barnes and some of the other players at linebacker. But I'm not sold on that. I mean, and maybe part of it is the way that Mike Pettin runs this defense. I mean, it got torched by a running back, much the way it did in the NFC Championship game. It concerns me because we're not talking about a team who just needs to make the playoffs, like you said. That's not the concern. That's not the level that the Packers are at. We want to see the Packers win another Super Bowl. In order to do that, you have to put all the pieces in place. And I feel like they're a piece or two short yet. And that's where they're falling short in the front office by not adding those pieces. When you can. You clearly have the opportunity to do so.
Right. So um I just
Yeah.
uh man, I don't know. Whew, it's gonna be it's frustrating. So,
Very.
but let's move on because we still have the coach's hot seat,
We
which
do. Yeah, we do. Yep. That
we
might take a
we
little bit here to go
we
through.
will
Yep.
talk about more of this type of stuff here um, as we go on. So, coach's hot seat. Where to begin this week? Lone Wolf, where to begin? Um, you know,
Well, why don't we just start with the with going to each conference, and then we'll go through the teams that we feel that have guys on the hot seat. And maybe we'll spend more time on certain ones that we haven't maybe focused on. I mean, there might be a few. You did mention one a little earlier. So if we start in the AFC, um, that might be a good place to even begin. Is you said something
well,
about you know
let, us quick go to the NFC because I think there's
okay,
less in the NFC, and we
okay,
can
yeah, that's fine. Yep.
just cross this off our list. NFC West, I don't think any coaches are on the hot seat in the NFC
No,
West.
absolutely not.
NFC South, I don't think there's any more. Atlanta already fired their coach.
Right. So yep, we're good there.
There'll be a new coach. The interim coach will not be the head coach next year. If they do, they're in for a world of hurt. NFC East, nobody in the hot seat there because you have two or three first. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. We do have one on the hot seat. Mike McCarthy was on the hot seat last week. I said his seat was torched. I already declared him a one and done. It's
Yes.
even worse now. I don't care that they're riddled with injuries.
Yeah.
They are not playing for him. I
It's
don't even think Dallas is going to win 4 games this year.
yeah. It's the same thing we saw amplified, I think, in Cowboy Land that we saw in Green Bay when Mike McCarthy was there at the end of his tenure. And now it's just worse in Dallas. So yeah, just um, it's bad. And I'll say this: even though the Eagles aren't very good and Carson Wentz just does not look like he did when he first started playing, and some of that might be the injuries. Doug Peterson's off the hot seat, I think, at this point
Yep.
because he'll win the division. So I mean, even though he might not have a winning record when he does it, he's not on the hot seat anymore.
Well, and I think he'll end up with a winning record.
And he probably will, but
I mean, you got to play. I think they're starting to figure some things out in Philadelphia. I'm not saying they're going to make a run in the playoffs by any means, but I think they'll end up with a winning record because you got to play your division opponents twice, and if Philadelphia can keep improving, they're going to. They got 3 more division games to go.
right.
I don't think they're going to win just 3 more games. So,
No, no. I mean, they could be like
yeah,
8-7-1 or something. I don't know,
yeah,
but
I agree though. That Doug Peterson is no longer on the hot seat. Mike McCarthy is sitting on a pitchfork on flames right now.
right.
Jerry Jones is just waiting at the guillotine to pull the cord. Um, let's put it that way. Let's move to the NFC North. We've talked about Matt Patricia. They're sitting at
Right.
3-4. I think he's still on the hot seat.
For
If
sure.
if they fall completely apart, he's gone. If they finish sit between 6 and 8 wins, I think they call me crazy. I think Detroit will keep him. And the reason for that is the GM worked with Patricia when they were both in New England. And they understand, they're going to sell it to ownership as this is a process. And I'm not saying that's right.
No, I know what you
But,
mean. I think it would be great if you are a fan of another team in that division, if he does stick around.
well, yeah, I
Um,
agree.
yeah, but I think it's the wrong move to make. I'm not. I want to disagree with you, but at the same time, I feel like that could be the case.
So,
So yeah, it's a possibility.
and then of course Mike Zimmer, I think, is on the hot seat. I think for all the wrong reasons. There, I think he's the one coach that will be let go that should not be let go. But that the Vikings, even though they beat the Packers this last week, the Vikings are in disarray. They have one guy, Dalvin Cook, and he's not going to win you games. He's not going to keep your job.
No, and I think yeah, we talked about that. He probably won't be there again next year. Yes, they'll play the Lions this week and they'll probably win, putting themselves at 3-5. But they've got a lot of other tough games on their schedule, and they're going to be losing some of those games. There's no question about that. I don't see a resurgence for them this year, so I think you're going to see him gone after this year. And yeah, like you said, he's going to end up somewhere else, and he'll be just fine.
Yeah. I do want to say the FC North, it's not a head coach, but I'm going to officially put Mike Pettin on the hot seat with the Green Bay Packers. Their run defense has been atrocious for 2 years now. I believe he will be let go as defensive coordinator at least at the end of the season, unless somehow their defense turns around and they win the Super Bowl. If their run defense does not improve, he will not be in the Green Bay next year. And I called it last week before the Viking game. Go ahead, Minnesota. Fire Mike Zimmer. Green Bay, hire him as your defensive coordinator.
yeah.
I am dead serious, Lomo.
I
I
know.
am
I know.
dead serious.
If he's willing, if he's willing, yes, I'll take him.
All right. So I'm
But I
putting,
agree with you. I think Pettin is on the hot seat, and I think it's not too soon. I mean, Matt LaFleur did not walk in with Mike Pettin as his guy. He was
correct.
already there. So that makes a big difference, and he hasn't really shown that he has the ability to put the players out there to stop the run. And we can criticize the front office, but the coach still has to do it with what he's got, and they've given it up on the ground too often in his tenure.
Correct. All right. Anybody else in the NFC you want to put on the hot seat?
No, I would say no. Well, I'll say this. I do. One last thing, and it just kind of depends on how the season goes. If the Bears completely fall apart this year and things go to pot, Matt Nagy could be on the hot seat a little bit later
Ooh.
on in the season.
Ooh. Oh, that's a new one. Yeah, we have a new
It's
one
we have a
on the
new
hot.
one. Yeah.
Uh,
It's a bit of a bold prediction, but I think that you've got mistake man GM who wants to stick by Trubisky. Matt Nagy says, "I got to win. I got to do something to preserve my job." He puts in Nick Foles. If this thing still falls apart though, and the Bears are looking at a 6-10, because they only win one more game or something, I think Matt Nagy is looking at maybe finding a new job.
and you know
So
what? It would not surprise me because the Chicago Bears organization is so knee-jerk reactionary that
yeah,
they would do it.
yeah,
Because if they start getting bad vibes from the fan base, that's when they make moves.
right,
And so if the fan base starts to get restless with Nagy, I could easily see them firing him.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I would agree. I will agree with that.
and they have a bevy of tough games coming up. I mean, they
Yep.
go at the Titans, they got the Vikings coming in, which the Vikings are not great, but they're not horrible. Then it's at the Packers, and then they've got the Lions, the Texans, at the Vikings again. The Jaguars, okay, and then Packers again. So I mean,
Right.
there's some tough games on this schedule, and I think that's going to be a tough one. So I look at it, and if Nagy can't keep it together, yeah, I think he's gone.
All righty. So we have in the NFC McCarthy on the hot seat. We have Mike Zimmer, Matt Patricia, Mike Patton, defensive coordinator, and Matt Nagy. Um, I mean, we
It's
have
it's it's just simmering. It's just simmering,
we,
just
we,
a
we
little
have
bit.
a coach from every team in the NFC North on the hot seat.
We do, yeah.
All right, moving over to the AFC. Um, we'll get the AFC North in real quick. I don't see any coaches on the hot seat there. Um, you got Zach Taylor, who you could, but it's only year two for him. I mean, I think Cincinnati, they give their coaches a long time. I mean, look how long they had
Marvin Lewis, yeah.
Marvin Lewis there, and he had some bad years. So I don't think anybody in the AFC North is on the hot seat right now.
I agree with that, yeah.
Um, moving to the AFC South, um, Bill O'Brien was already fired. Doug Marone, I,
Yeah, yeah. I
that
mean,
thing's a flaming ball of lava.
yeah.
He is engulfed in flames. If he is not fired at the end of the season, I'll be shocked. Like I said, I think Jacksonville is hoping somehow the Jets win 2 games so they have a chance to get the first overall pick to take Trevor Lawrence. Um, moving to the AFC West, this is where it gets interesting, I think, in the AFC. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Raiders are not on the hot seat. Neither of those coaches. I think that we talked about this during the hot seat segment last week. I think that Fangio got off the hot seat a little bit, just a
Yep.
little. I think
Yep.
it's still warm, so I'll leave him on the list. but it's
Sure.
not as bad. They're sitting at 3-4. Um, and they were right. They're in most games where Locke played, they have at least been competitive. When he
Yeah.
didn't play, they were horrible. So I'll leave him on the list for now, but I think it's cooled a little bit.
Yeah.
Then,
And they'll probably win this week, like we talked about. They'll be 4-4, and they'll be okay.
right,
Yeah.
Lynn is squarely now on the hot seat. You're sitting at 2-5. Um,
Yeah.
if he doesn't win some more games here, he will be fired because the ownership knows they have a new stadium, they have a young quarterback that looks like he's going to be very good,
Right.
uh, and they need somebody that can mold him and lead this franchise moving forward for the next decade. And if Lynn doesn't pull, he doesn't have to win a ton, but you have to win, I would say, 5 to 6 games. And if you don't do that, you're going to be fired.
I would say maybe even 7 or so. I mean, I think he has to do it. The NFL is defined a lot of times by close games. I mean, that's what the NFL wants. They want to see close games, and there's a lot of those. The Chargers, like I was saying before when I was picking against them, have found ways over the last couple seasons to lose all of those close games. I am sure it's given many a Chargers fan an ulcer at how many close games that they've lost. But when that happens, it's on the coach. I mean, ultimately that's where it rests, right or wrong. But I think Anthony Lynn would probably take it upon himself to say it is his fault, because that's what most coaches do, the good ones. And I think he's a decent coach. I just think that they just fall apart at the end of games. So that's on him. I think he'll be gone at the end of the year because I don't see this team winning enough games for him to stick around at the end of the
All right. And finally, the AFC East. I shocked you last week
year.
with putting Bill Belichick on the hot seat. I gave you my rationale.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, I think it would be more of a mutual parting than you're fired. Um,
Right.
and I think that only intensified last week. They've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Um, Cam Newton's starting to pull his same antics that he did at the end of the Carolina. Um,
Right.
I don't see him
What
buying it.
crazy outfit can Cam Newton
Yeah,
wear tomorrow?
you know,
Yeah.
he just hasn't dressed up like the little old lady yet. Uh, but he hasn't bought into the Patriot way that they have established there. I think New England understands they have their next head coach in waiting, and if Bill Belichick sticks around too long, he will leave again. And that's McDaniels. I don't think he's a very good
Right.
head coach, but I think that's who New England wants to be their next head coach. So I think that's why, with those things, I really think Bill, he's going to be given an option.
Yeah.
Step back and just be the GM, or you're done with us.
Right. And
Uh,
I don't know that he would stick around and do that. I maybe it's time for him to ride off into the sunset, if it comes down to it. But I kind of feel like you're probably right. I mean, you put him on the hot seat. It's hard to imagine Belichick being on the hot seat, but the way that the Patriots have been, I think, yes, they're probably so filled up with their own success over the last decade that to see the organization in this situation, it'd be a very tough climb for them to get to 500 this year.
right, exactly.
So,
I don't
yeah,
see them. I don't see them being 500 this year.
right.
I just don't see it. So, all right. And finally,
Our favorite coach.
yes, everybody, I did not forget about Adam Gasse. He is still on the hot seat list, but he's on a whole list of his own. He is
I
on
agree. Actually, yes, let's create a new list. And
he
he's on his own list.
he is on the show The Walking Dead. He is on the coach. He's a Walking Dead coach. The guy's fired, but I think the memo must have gotten lost from the GM's office to Adam Gaze.
And he's the slow moving version of a zombie. Okay,
Right.
so if there's a fast zombie in any zombie show, that is not Adam Gase. He's the
Exactly.
slow moving version of any zombie here.
You know, have you ever seen Zootopia?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Adam Gase is the sloth.
yes, and not in the car, but
And
at the actual DMV here. Okay.
I mean, how? 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 How are you still employed?
Week in and week out, it's almost like a morbid fascination to see
It
how it's
is
possible that this guy is still employed as the head coach.
Lone Wolf. I have to look
Uh,
this up. I, I don't know if you're looking at stats right now, but please guess what the Jets' point differential is this year.
oh, I actually was. So it's not a guess. Unfortunately, I was going to bring this up. They still haven't scored 100 points, and they've given up 238. I this is it's not even embarrassing. It's beyond embarrassing.
I'm telling you right now, I just searched the worst point differential in NFL history. You have a couple of teams. Oh,
Okay.
wait. Oh, they going all the way down to a 24. Number one. What's number one? The worst point differential was the expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 1976. And this was only in 14 games, but they were minus 287
Oh boy.
in
Whew,
14 games. Now, now,
that's bad.
the Jets could get there.
They could.
If you
They could.
double, if you double what they have, because they have 8 games left, it'd be 288. So they would break that record by a point.
So they're what you're telling me right
Whoa.
now, coach, is that they're on pace to break the worst point differential record
In NFL history.
in NFL history. That is an accomplishment in and of itself. Say, hey, you're going to break an NFL record this year, guys. Think
I
about it.
mean, oh my God. That's so bad.
It's actually kind of disgusting. Yeah.
It is so bad. I,
And I'm even trying to look at if there's a team here. The most recent team that I see is the 2009 St. Louis Rams. Uh, yeah, yeah, that's the team. I think that was the most recent team. Oh, and then the 2008 Detroit Lions, who I believe they were 0-16 that year. Yes, they were 0-16. So you got some recent teams that have managed to have some really bad point differentials. Yeah, I mean, this is just awful, god awful, horrid. Somehow, this man still has a head coaching job and is one of the 32. I don't get it.
and listen to these games they have coming up. Patriots, Chargers, Dolphins, Raiders, Seahawks, Rams, Browns, and Patriots. You have
Yeah.
one shot to win, New York. And that's in 2 weeks at the Chargers.
I, I honestly, I honestly am on board with you. I do not see how this team can win a game. I do not see it. I don't even see it as a possibility against a bad team. Like even with the Chargers or any of these other teams, I don't even see it. I have no confidence in anything the Jets are doing at all, offensively or defensively. It doesn't even matter, or on special teams for that matter. I have no confidence in them at all. Zero confidence. Zero.
So, and this is an ESPN show. It must be in New York, but there is a announcer, Rich Chamini, and he
Okay.
comes on the show and says that this is the worst Jets team he has ever covered because they aren't even competitive.
Now I'm guessing this dude has been covering the Jets for a long time. I'm
Right.
guessing. Yeah.
Let me look it up. I'm
Okay.
assuming he's probably like one of the
He's probably a long-term Jets guy. That's what it sounds like.
he
So
has
yeah.
covered more than 400 Jets games and 26 Super Bowls. So yeah, he's been around.
Okay. So this guy's got a point of view here.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been around. That's so bad.
Yeah.
How? How, Adam Gase, are you still employed? I know I go off on you every week, but every week you give us more reason to
It,
flip out on how you're
it's warranted though.
still
It's like how
employed.
can we not talk about this? That any other organization, any other coach, it just feels like he would have been walked out the door 4 games ago. I don't. What's going on in New York? I just don't get it either. I don't get it. How? I mean, really seriously, if they want to have a coach who will at least motivate the players but may still be awful, I'm available. I've
Yeah,
put this out there. I'll coach. I mean, you can come with me, coach, if you want it. We can coach together. Uh, at least the players would play and be competitive.
you know, do this. This is what Adam Gase should do. Put your playbook into Madden and have like a Nintendo Switch on the sideline and let Madden pick your play and run that play. And I bet you win a game.
Oh. You know what? I want to actually see that happen because I think it's a good idea. I honestly do. Uh, and you might win one. You might actually get there. You know.
I
Oh man.
I
He even gave up play calling to his offensive coordinator in their last game or the last 2 games maybe. But I mean, it hardly made a difference. It really didn't. I mean, I think they scored a touchdown in one of those games. Um, yeah, they did. P. Ryan scored a touchdown in the second to last game. So they have one touchdown in 2 games in the last 2 games. So that's a good thing, I guess. They changed it up a little bit.
uh, I
Oh
mean,
man,
you have the articles all over the New York area.
yeah,
Why is Adam Gase still employed? I mean, you have newspapers right in these articles.
yeah,
There,
yeah. I don't think I think everybody's about as dumbfounded about this situation as we are. And the people in New York. I mean, if you're a fan of any type, you're covering these games, like the gentleman you just mentioned before. This is just you have to be dumbfounded. I don't know what else can you be. I mean, you can't have this, and it's not like he's been stellar up until this point, and now it's one of the worst displays of football I've ever seen.
Well, I
Coaching.
can tell you right now. Here's part of the problem. This is an article from 2 days ago,
Yeah.
and this is why, if you are a Jets fan, you need to stop spending any money on the New York Jets. So, headline of the article: Jets GM Adam Gase is part of solution. And then it says the Jets have a whole host of problems, but head coach Adam Gase isn't among them, according to GM Joe Douglas. Gase says he's part of the solution.
Joe Douglas,
Joe Douglas,
colon,
you
you're
boom
part of
are
the
on the
problem.
hot seat. You are on the Walking Dead with Adam Gase. If I am the owner, I am walking you both out of my building.
Oh
Get
God, yeah.
out. Get
Joe
out.
Douglas even hasn't been the GM for that long. He took over the GM from interim GM Adam
Adam
Gase
Gase.
to be the GM. This is just a tandem of awfulness. Yes, I agree with you 100%, Coach. If you're a Jets fan, you just need to stop giving them money. Don't buy their tickets. Don't buy their merchandise. Unless it's an NFL shop, I guess maybe part of that goes to the team, so maybe you don't. Just don't. Stop giving them money. Be a fan, but they don't deserve it. They don't deserve your fandom right now. They're putting out a product that is so far substandard that they're doing you a complete disservice as a franchise. This is just terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm reading more snippets of these articles coming out from a couple
Yeah.
days ago. And I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds more
But
and more like the Jets don't want to get rid of him. And how
right, it says right
we've
here.
been talking about this. We talked about it last week and this week too. What happens at the end of the year if they keep him as their head coach?
Oh, exactly. It says right here. It says General Manager Joe Douglas hasn't heard the same calls for his job that Adam Gase has heard, but he says he has to take my fair share of responsibility for how bad things have gone in the Jets for 2020. This is not all on Adam. Douglas said. I have to do a better job surrounding him with better players and better weapons. Okay, you're admitting you're not doing a good job. You both should be fired.
He just said I suck. I mean, what what else are you gonna say? I'm not doing a good job. Well, okay, well, good. Then you can leave too.
You have one job. Sign good players. That's your
Oh
job.
man,
That's your job.
Coach, there you go. Douglas is now in the hot seat along with Adam Gase. A general manager needs to get fired right now too.
Boom. Clean house. You two are now officially on the hot seat. They're on the Walking Dead coaching executive hot seat. They're on a
Yeah,
list of their own. And
they are on a
until
list
that
of their own.
happens,
Yes.
until this happens, the Jets are going to stink. Um,
I think they're on the 0-16. I mean, you said that early on. I thought, well, I wasn't quite there just because I thought, maybe they get a game early on. But the more you see this team, the more you see how they're completely dysfunctional and they're not going anywhere. They can't score to save their lives, and they really can't stop anybody. So basically, it's 0-16 at this point, unless all of a sudden, you know, the head coach gets walked out the door and followed by the Walking Dead general manager. This is it's just it's a travesty what's going on in New York.
Yeah, I mean, oh my Lord.
So I think as far
Woo.
as coaches on the hot seat or anybody on the hot seat, that's our last one.
That
It's
is our
usually
last
our last
one.
one because we usually have a
Um,
lot to say about it. But
whew,
um,
I mean, it's
yeah,
just I didn't think this thing could get any worse for New York. But now you have the GM coming out saying it's not on Adam Gase, it's on me.
right.
Well,
Yeah, it actually is getting worse, and that's the scary part. Um,
and, and
yeah,
what does anybody reach out to the Jets ownership for comment on this? Um,
yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen any articles about that. I'm not sure if anybody has done that yet or not.
Probably, I'm assuming not. Um, but I'll have to look into it for next week, as I'm sure we'll be talking about next week, unless somehow they both get fired within the week. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I have a sad feeling we'll be talking about them again.
I
Yeah,
so I mean, it makes sense now. You don't re-sign Robbie Anderson. Um, you let him walk in free agency. You straight out cut Le'Veon Bell
right.
and don't even get like a fourth round draft pick for him. You
Jamal Adams
trade
wants out of town. He gets out of
you,
town.
you trade Jamal Adams
Yeah,
for peanuts. Um,
right.
I mean, holy cow! You're just
Yeah, you're letting all the talent go, and then you make another trade with a linebacker. You know, just
I,
now you let him go to Pittsburgh. Yeah, you're letting all the talent out and none's coming in. So
I'll
I
tell you
don't
right
know.
now,
Yeah,
the current management structure and coaching structure of the Jets, they will not be able to sign free agents unless somebody just needs a paycheck.
right. Yeah, desperate. Yes.
That it's
I don't know
period.
who would want to go play there. No, why would you want to play there?
Unless you can't find a team, the Jets are willing to give you money. You can go and collect a paycheck.
I mean, would you rather sit on a practice squad for another team or actually play for the Jets?
Well, the problem is if you're on practice squad, you don't get your full pay.
Oh, sure. Okay. All right. Yeah.
So
Well, then I would probably want to play. I mean, it's not great, but yeah, you want to actually play and get your full amount. So
so so there we have it, Lone Wolf.
yeah.
It's one last thing, real quick, before we end the show. NBA is in talks. The Adam Silver wants a pre-Christmas start to the next season. Uh,
Yes, I saw that. Yep.
Not sure if it's going to happen. I thought the agreement was they were going to start like right after Christmas, after the New Year.
Right.
Um, the biggest question is, can the Bucks keep Giannis?
Right.
Lots of rumors out there. And I'll tell you right now, teams need to be careful with all the rumors going on. There's one rumor is that that the Heat already have a contract in place for Giannis on a long-term deal, whether he's a free agent or they trade for him.
Right.
I'm sure it's just a rumor, but again, if that gets investigated and it's true, that's tampering. You're going to get slapped with so many penalties.
Right. You really have to be careful with that kind of stuff. You can't be playing around or messing around like that.
So it's going to be interesting. You know, I'm not sure when the actual period where they can sign guys is. I don't know if that's started yet. Um, but I'll tell you
I don't
what,
think it has.
the Bucks need to make some trades or signings.
They
Um,
do.
get Giannis at least another superstar to keep him. I think if they can trade for somebody, he'll stay. I think he'll stay either way. I think he likes in Milwaukee.
Right.
Um, he's not one of those glitz and glamour guys, and I think people don't understand that about him. Um, he's
Yeah, he
not an
doesn't need to be he doesn't need to be in LA or anything like that. Yeah.
right. He wants to go where he's comfortable, where he can just enjoy the city and his family is happy and he can win. And if the Bucks show that they're willing to spend money to put people around him to help him
Yeah.
win, he'll stay. Again,
And
they can offer him the most money.
right,
He,
exactly.
he,
That's how the NBA is structured. They can give him the max deal. And the NBA is also structured in where you want to bring in another superstar because that's just what it takes now in the NBA. You have to have more than one if you want to win a title.
right,
You really can't have just one superstar and pull it off. That's just not the way of the NBA anymore. So you have to bring in somebody else, and I think the Bucks are willing to do that. We talked about that a lot. Um, there's a lot of teams, a lot of moves that are going to be made, and the NBA offseason is something that we talked about. We want to get into because it's going to be kind of crazy and pretty frenetic. But yeah, I think the Bucks are going to be willing to do that, and I think they're going to do that.
right. And that's the thing too. People are saying, well, he can take less money in his contract and get endorsements. That's not Giannis. Do you not understand that, people?
Right.
He doesn't want to do the endorsement thing. He's come out and said it. He doesn't want it.
Yeah, that's not what he wants. It's not what he wants to do. And he stays there. He's going to get the most money that he can. And what do guys want? I mean, they want to be competitive, and obviously they want to get as much money as they possibly can. Well, he's going to be competitive, and I think the Bucks are going to take those steps that are necessary. Now, if they don't, and he sees that they're not going to do that, then maybe he does think about going somewhere else. But I just don't feel like that's what they're going to do.
Exactly, and I agree, and I agree. Um, so I don't have anything else on Wolf unless you have something that you. Well, actually, real quick, just
Yeah.
NBA. Player reps have approved a December 22nd start to the NBA season.
Oh. Okay. All right. I
So
didn't know if that was going to happen, but interesting that that is going to take place. Okay.
that was just put out on ESPN.
Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
so
We'll have to
yeah,
see what the details of that's actually going to be. Where they're going to play and how that's going to work.
right. It'll be
But
interesting to see how they do that all. If they go back to their normal cities.
right.
Um,
I did have one other thing that I wanted to bring up, kind of as an end of the show. Not serious, but as far as it goes for us, we are Packers fans. So Herb Adderley just passed away, and I
yeah,
just wanted to mention that on here. Great player for the Packers. He's on the ring at Lambeau, and I just wanted to say, my condolences to his family, but a shout out, if you will, to Herb Adderley,
yeah.
as an individual and then as a football player.
He was an all-time great NFL player, not just for the Packers, but for in the NFL. Really helped put Green Bay on the map in the early beginnings of the NFL. So yes, it's always you know hard to see legends pass away, not just as a fan, but for the families.
Right.
Um, so our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. As they remember everything he has done in his life. Um, on that note, Packers final score 34-17. 49ers scored two late in the game, which sucks for my fantasy because I picked up Packers defense because mine was on high. But hey, it
Yeah.
is what it is. So that is it for the night. Everybody, thank you for listening. We will be back next week and see if there's really the big thing is movement on the coach's hot seat. We'll review, recap this week, preview next week. After this week we will start really getting a picture of um, playoff scenarios, things like that, because we're officially hitting that halfway point of the NFL season.
Right.
So tune in; it should be a good show. And then I'm sure we'll have more news on the NBA because now as we have an official start date, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of a lot of things start happening quickly with the NBA. And I know the draft, I believe, is coming up. I'm just not sure when. I'm sure we
Right.
will be.
There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of movement fast in the NBA with that date being set now,
Right.
like you just said. So yeah, for sure we'll
So
be talking about the NBA trades and the draft, probably quite extensively, at least for at least one show, I would think.
exactly. So thank you everybody for listening. Have a great week. Be safe, and we will talk to you next time.
Have a good night.